Okay, good place to start. Hey, good evening. Welcome to another stream of Lyre Bird Edits. And an especially fervent welcome to Herringbone. Good evening. Being the first in the stream is always a commendable feat. And speaking with such a lovely Australian lilt as well, I was trying to think of something I could say in response to you. Just as the stream was warming up, I saw your comment, and I thought, oh, that is very, very dinky dime. But I couldn't think of it like an equally appropriate Australianism to throw back at you. I'm not a very good Australian. I'm kind of one of those, you know, limp-wristed urban people. vote ScoMo like a real battler. Hey, alright, SG, hi, welcome to the stream. Our Prime Minister is currently, he decided to take a bus tour around Queensland. Queensland's the I don't want to mischaracterize Queensland, but it is the Bogan state. Like, if you had to point to the state of Australia, that was like a little bit, ugh. But with lovely people. I don't want to disparage Queenslanders, but yeah, it's the birthplace of one nation, and the Prime Minister's currently hired a bus to do a bus tour, traveling around all the regional towns and going into pubs and being like, yeah, ask me some questions. You know, I'm ScoMo. I'm one of you, and then proceeds to do things like ignore people he doesn't like and. He pick fights with the media, and he's basically trying to do a Trump light kind of thing, but without the Trump stature. One of the funniest things that's come out of his bus tour is that he hired the bus to go to all these country towns, but he's not actually on the bus. He flies between the towns, while the ScoMo bus travels on the ground between these towns. Like, why? Why? It's yeah, exactly. Like, credit to Trump. I assume Trump rode in the bus on his bus tour of like rural Ohio and Iowa, but ScoMo can't even do that. I mean, fair, we're a huge country, but I don't know. Yes, it is. That's a really funny interview. Because it reads like a it we had these two satirists in Australia called Clark and Dawn. Yeah, Daw. I think Clark died. Yeah, so they disbanded when Clark died last year. But there were these two extremely famous satirists who do these mock interviews with each other as politicians, and they have a very distinct style of kind of absurd rhetoric. And ScoMo was asked about why he's not traveling on the ground, and it read like a satire script. His answers. This was one of them. So. Yeah. Anyway, enough about Australian politics. It's boring and it's funny, but it's not very interesting in the grand scheme of things. Outrider SG, I hope you voted. Vote often and vote early, and don't stuff up the electronic voting. Do you have electronic voting in your state? That's crazy. That's a weird, very prone to well, all sorts of nasty stuff can happen with electronic voting. We do paper ballots. We had a crazy paper ballot. This is off topic again. A couple of years back, we had this crazy ballot paper. It was like 1.5 meters long or something. Yeah, this one. Yeah. This was one of our ballot papers. In fact, that looks like one of the smaller ones. There it is. Ah, mwah. Democracy in action. Look at that. Yeah, there were some crazy ballots we've had, but paper is best. Oh, you got the electronic ones. Cool. Did they work? Because I know that I've seen footage of things um, like people pressing buttons and it's like it glitches out or it selects another candidate, all sorts of weird things. And I hear in the States that the voting commission is state based, so every state can have a different method of counting ballots, and like some have different contracts with different electronic providers. So I don't know, it's interesting more than anything else, but I don't think electronic voting is a good thing. I think in theory it's great, but in practice it's prone to all sorts of coercion. And so are paper ballots too. Like it's not impossible to forge an election with paper ballots. Anyway, enough about elections, enough about politics, enough about ScoMo. The true Aussie legend, Scott Morrison. And we're here to do some writing, I think. Yeah, that's what we do here on Lyrebird Politics, Lyrebird Vote Talking Guy. Hmm, that's interesting. Hmm, bit concerning too. Hmm. But yeah, politics. Let's put that aside. Let's do it with this story. So I was having a bit of a think about um, how this story is going to progress and what sort of direction that I'm going to take it in. I'm going to put a little star there to mark the end of a scene. Oh, good. That's good to hear. It just sort of seems like potluck sometimes with all of these strange things happening. But yeah, good. Glad your voting experience was smooth. Also, good on you for voting. I know that it's not compulsory in America, but it's important, so. It is good to vote. Now, on a notepad here, I've made a couple of very grammatically not correct. I don't know why I'm so picky about the grammar. I've had a bit of a session thinking about where I want to take this story and what kind of theme I want to address and how it's going to influence the writing. So I sort of said over stream last time um, that one of the really interesting things about high concept stories is that they're often in a very big rush and a tumble to get to the point where the high concept becomes apparent. It's like, wow, I've got this crazy idea. In the future, there are robots, but they're not robots. They're humans, but are robots that are bred with the humans. Wow, it's great. But then you actually have to get down to the story, and then you dive into the first page, and what do? Do you ground the story in a scene? Like a slice of the normal, or do you spend time declaring what the world looks like, or do you marry those two ideas together? Um, yes, is the answer. You marry them together, but you're always a bit under a bit of pressure to. You're always under a bit of pressure to reveal the high concept, the overarching scientific element. Oh, happy birthday, Anna, for tomorrow. Nice. Just silence Windows. I've forgotten how to do it. Oh well. The story first and foremost has to be interesting. It has to be a story about the progression of characters from what like a physical state or an emotional state, but progression in characters is a really key thing to focus on. You can tie that in, I feel, with a high concept story in a really neat way. And I said a couple of streams back in relation to this story that we're working on that deviation from the norm is something really interesting to work with. So, for instance, Um, the opening scene that we deal with here is about this boy playing this game with this digital girl who lives in the world underneath the top surface layer of the world. And the deviation from the norm here is that he is emotionally a bit on edge in preparation for doing something a bit later, and thus the game that he plays with this girl, which usually goes really smoothly, is not. It doesn't end the way that he wants it to, or he's a bit distracted. So having that deviation from the norm is really good because it's interesting and it shows characters doing something meaningful with the world. Now, I got a bit stuck at the end of last story as well because sorry, last time I was writing this. What I ended up doing was just throwing down a bit of oh, just a skeleton of what I thought might be interesting, but I didn't really know where this story was going. And I figured out that I've got these. Actually, I do have these kind of stepping stones of where I want this story to go. I know that we're dealing with a child called Spark and a woman called Eka, who's his guardian. They are going to meet two other humans um, in order for them to, I suppose, touch base. It's a bit of a ceremonial thing, and with some help from Outrider SG, who gave some really interesting kind of primer questions, I was able to think about this over the last couple of days. Like, what does it look like for the last remaining humans on Earth to meet each other? If they live solitary lives, do they have like some sort of ceremony where they come together? What do they talk about? Why do they meet? What are they doing? And all of these questions have to be answered, or at least you sort of indicate where it's going. So I think that the humans, this is just my general notes that I wrote before the stream, but I think the humans meet once a year to reforge their relationships and monitor their young. They're kind of living in a zoo, and spoilers, I think the older humans are in full knowledge and they're in concert with the digital beings in the center of the earth, or who live in that sort of simulation-esque kind of world. Um, they help sort of steer the next generation of humanity. So they're effectively trying to forge relationships, and it's a bit like a sort of breeding program, to put it weirdly. I went to the zoo over the weekend, yay, and I saw some baby cheetahs. So I was also kind of thinking about that as well, like being in a zoo and walking around the very controlled world that they live in. It sort of reminded me of my story a bit because this is a zoo. Like the whole surface of the earth is a zoo for 10 animals basically, or 12, or however many humans there are. They're a tiny number. And there are also other things too, like insects and birds and stuff. But the humans are interesting because they're the prototype of the species that beget the beings in the center of the earth. All high concept stuff. What does this actually mean for the characters? Well, this character, Spark, is going to be meeting a new human, I think maybe for the first time. And their meeting is supposed to be quite, I suppose, monumentous, and it's going to end up being something different. In the same way, when Eka and Spark travel from A to B over the surface of the Earth, I want to make it an unexpected kind of journey, and I want the dragonfly to crash into the home of this other person, not indirectly into the home of the other humans, but into their space, into their territory. And so that's a deviation from the norm. Um, I think the ceremony I was thinking about may involve some sort of like weird biological mind mesh. Um, this is I want to really push the limit of my comfort here, talking about science fiction and the interface with biology. So I'm gonna try and write some weird stuff. But this is kind of where I'm going. So what I'm gonna do tonight, instead of just waffling on about this, I'll be monitoring. I'll go from here and I'll reread this section, prime it ready for the next section, which will be the travel and then the meeting, and then maybe I'll also get on to the point at which these characters, where the boy and the girl may be, I don't know, like split their consciousness, or tap into like the ghost of the earth and they can see everything in total. I don't know, something weird, but I'm interested in not writing a very straightforward story. So I don't know, bear with me and we'll see how we go. Yes, Dubbo Zoo. Dubbo Zoo. It's really good, Dubbo Zoo. It's an open plains safari style zoo. It's 6K's worth of track. You can hire bicycles and you pedal around and you see huge exhibits. They're really cool. Oh, Nier, yeah, yeah. I started playing Nier over on my girlfriend's PS4. It's so good. And I wish I had a PS4 so I could keep playing it. Um, it's a really cool story. Um, Maybe it's a bit Nier inspired. Yeah. I don't know if they have ages. Maybe not. Hmm. Have experiences marked in time? It's a really good question. I think I'm gonna try and answer that with Spark and his friend that he's gonna meet. They'll tap into the Earth. Um, I suppose I sort of wanted to be a bit like a Gaia situation where they sort of see everything in a very holistic and total sense, um, and then compare themselves against the creatures that are living inside the power of the Earth. Um, so I mean, how do simulated beings perceive time? How do they mark time? What's their goal? What are they doing? They're really interesting questions to answer. But it comes back to what's this story really about? And I think it's about what a utopia could look like if humans are very constrained and they're given or gifted a world that they can't screw up, and gifted very controlled scenarios that minimize their sense of negative utility. I don't know. But it's basically a story about humans figuring out that they're kind of at the end of their lifespan. It's like this is as far as you go and no further, because if you go further, you become what's inside the earth, which is the next species of human. So I guess this is kind of like the remnants of human. And I suppose it's a bit sad, but what does it look like to be in that situation? And do the humans rebel against it? Do they work with the system? You'll have to wait to find out. They don't rebel. I hate humans rebel against the robots and find their freedom stories. That's really annoying. I want a story to sit me down and go, okay, humans suck and they're gonna come to an end and something better is gonna come after them. I want a story like that, but I've never really read a story like that. I think some of Asimov's and Clark, no, not Clark, Banks. Some of those stories deal with these topics, but I sort of feel like it's difficult to write about. Anyway, can't remember the name. But anyway, Vizmaker wakes up after stasis. Zima senior money was wiped out. The room still in his case system with these. Interesting. If you've got a name for the story, do share. Let's read. Visisa, which is a dragonfly thing, stands ready, her wings catching the sour morning light and cellophane beauty. Spark approaches the giant dragonfly, and the creature's solarized eyes swivel in their sockets, ease up, and cast the child's image across their dark surface. The boy reaches up and pats the flank of the beast. There, pat pat. Sai curls around and lets her wings unfold a little as if stretching, taking in the fresh air of morning. I don't like air of morning. Or even taking in the fresh air. As if stretching, ready for the long flight ahead. So here I've kind of declared a motive, or at least a destination. Spark fossicks around the pen for the saddle and harness. For saddle and harness. I'm gonna get rid of those articles. Bam, no more articles. Echo hopples back to the small hut that stands in the middle of this little slice of earth, by the seashore, by the forest, by the sticky mess that grows in place of grass. Set under a harsh sun, this little place here with the composite home and the pet dragonfly is incredibly home. Is home. Silver painted, gentle curve roofed. Eye windows along the sides, which is a sentence fragment. A gift from the people below. surface of the earth. Hmm. AI has some forbidden knowledge. Nice. You ever read? Oh, sorry. This is Outrider. I don't know why I assumed it was Herring. Have either of you read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream? It's a really good story. It's also a game as well, which was an interesting game. I have no mouth and I must scream. Ah! Spooky. Yeah, here it is. Ha ha ha, committing copyright infringement. There we go. Um, this is a really odd, like old sci-fi story that was turned into a game in like the mid-90s or something. The game is horrifying. It's a dark, twisted game, and the story itself is quite dark and twisted, but not maybe to the extent that the game portrays. It's basically about an AI that gets kept 5 humans alive, and it's torturing them. That's very pleasant. But then you think of there are lots of questions like why is it doing what it's doing? Are the humans going to rise up and overthrow the machine? What situation has the world come to that has led to this scenario? I don't mean it. I must meme. Haha, good. Good. Yeah. There you go. Read away. There's a copy of it. Um, I don't know why it's out of copyright, but that would actually be a really nice example of a story that deals with a high concept theme in a way that's quite personal. Like, the characters are more. Yeah. Check out this last line. Hey, I have no mouse scream. Who would have thought? But yeah, note that he starts the sentence with the conjunction, which is totally valid. You can do that. Ignore your primary school teacher. This is okay. I think I'll just push forward. Inside offers Echo a brief respite from the wind and sunshine. So I'm going to reconfigure this to push it into motion. So Echo slips inside and enjoys the brief respite from the wind and sunshine. Now, why did I change that? Inside offers Echo a brief respite. So this is a passive kind of offer. I'm going to reuse that word, but it's an offer for the reader, whereas this is actually a this is something that's very active, and the reader has no passive say over whether they absorb it or not. Eka slips inside and enjoys the brief respite from the wind and sunshine. Here reigns silence and calm in the little grey space. Here, I'm gonna reconfigure this. In the little grey space at the edge of the world, comma, silence and calm reign. All that I've done there is reconfigure the sentence because I feel as though it personifies silence and calm a little more, and I've also kind of declared a bit more of a clue about where they are. This is I feel personally a really neat way of dropping in little world building facts as you describe something mundane or as you describe something integral. Like, duh, it's a house. You go inside of it, you close the door, and it's nice and calm. That is the basic definition of what a house is, right? But then you add in things like edge of the world, silence and calm, then what it does is it gives you a hint about what's going on outside. Oh, hello, Sayaka. Emotional right now. Oh no, that's no good. Hmm. I concur with Herringbone. Yeah, chin up. But also, if you want to chat, you can always do it in Discord too. Hope you feel better soon. Accompanying kind of antipresence, the sort of lull to the tune of the earth that exists in tranquil corners, that breath, that voice exists here in a special place. Woo, that's thick. Accompanying kind of antipresence, the sort of lull to the tune of the earth that exists in tranquil corners. I'm really trying hard here, but it's not coming off particularly well. Sort of lull that exists in tranquil corners, that breath, that voice exists here in a special place. Place. The tiny kitchen with a salt charger works silent in the corner, keeping the icebox fresh. The high ceiling curve of this place is the second curve around as the second level rises and disappears into the back bedrooms. But there is life here in the stillness. You simply have to see it. Break that up into any sentence. Photographs, maps, charts of the earth. Charts of the earth. Over here on the table by the front window is Spark and Sly coming outside. Rest of their day's plan. The plan is a simple one. Gonna put those in commas instead. I feel like the brackets really drag the reader out too early. Over here on the table by the front window is Spark and Sia. Siza. Psy, sorry. Not Sia. The pop singer. Psy. Like the emotional. Thank you. Good. The plan is a simple one, to meet the humans that live on the other side of the bay. 2 of them. The camp is marked in red on the paper map that covers the table, but Eka takes special note of a light-bending printer that projects new information down from the ceiling and onto the cartography of the world. Live wind lines, line maps of the awful snaky monsters that twist their bodies over the oceans, over the plains, like giant tendrils constricting the earth. We went for the egg dwellers beneath the surface of this world. Their technology, their understanding of how this surface nightmare operates, and that the journey today would be impossible. This is intentional, Eka understands, and she traces a finger across the path from home to humans. After all, can't put the people together. Bad things happen when humans congregate. Best to keep them separate until the time is right. So, here's something interesting that I really hope I'm hinting, and I want to just take a minute to make sure that this is the impression I'm giving. Sorry if I'm speaking really quickly tonight. I just sort of feel like I'm on a roll. But yeah, tell me to slow down and enunciate. The impression that I'm giving is that Eka not only understands that their lives and their penned-in corner of the world is directly controlled by the people beneath the surface of the world. It's more, in addition to that she's complicit in it as well. Okay, here we go. One of the really nice things about third person personal, but still with like an omnipresent kind of guise, is that you can use narrational interjection to really good effect. Like you can do this in first person if you were narrating from the point of view of Eka, so you could say like you could even write exactly the same thing, but instead of saying "isn't it right, Eka," what you'd say instead is I've had to learn the hard way that this is for our own good. That sort of thing. Like you get the character to swivel back and comment on the story as you go along. So Outrider says the narrator is Echo, right? Not quite. It's focalized very heavily through Echo, but it's not Echo talking to you as a character. This may just be my personal style of writing, but I love writing almost through a character's perspective, but having the narrator as a separate entity. Have them very emotionally connected with the character, so that you can drop in things like this and it makes sense. Um, but that doesn't sometimes doesn't work to your advantage. Hmm. Yeah. So that's the other flip side as well. If it's not declared who the narrator is, but it's very personal, you can then also make like a secondary guess that there are other things in this story that have the capacity to narrate over the events. Um, I do this an awful lot. Like almost every story I write, I do this, and I don't see a single downside to it. So I just it's the way I write. Maybe I'm really boring and predictable. That I love implying that characters are narrating, but you don't really know who, but you know who it's not. And but in a very non-consequential way. Like you don't get a grand reveal from that. It's not a gimmick. It's just how the story is told. Um, Interesting. So if you wanted to sound more complicit, I think the bad things happen when it makes it sound a bit sarcastic. Oh, interesting. How about this? Only terror follows when humans congregate. That is self-evident. That's a bit more blunt, isn't it? Oh, humans aren't that bad. Yeah, they are. At least relative to like the thing in this story that's living under the earth. Yay, nice. But actually, that was a really good catch too, because sometimes there's a bit of baggage associated with phrases that can give you the complete opposite meaning of what you're going for. So that's a really good up there. Um, I'm glad I have you guys. I'd be lost without you. The older woman finds Spark a little ways away from the dragonfly steed. So I was worried there that Spark and Sai are they're outside, they're there. I think enough time has passed narrationally for them to not be there when she goes back outside. The older woman finds Spark a little ways away from the dragonfly steed. Fine, like enough time has passed. Kneeling upon the colourful patch of earth, eyes low, hair forming a little curtain over his eyes. That's a sentence fragment. It's good, but he kneels. I don't mind if I start it with a pronoun. Oh, interesting. I wonder if hmm, interesting. And I wonder if I've lost that now. Only telephone. Maybe this makes up for it. I'll think about that some more. How's Manchuria story? Thank you for reminding me. Um, I haven't touched it since. I'm making a decision very soon, probably tomorrow, um, about which one of the three stories I'm balancing, uh, or this, including this one. I'm gonna write. I've decided that. Ooh, I think I'm gonna go back to Sai's story. The not Sai the Dragonfly, Sai the The human that wakes up in the world destroyed by God, or a couple of gods for having a fight. I think I've stumbled upon what it is that story is about. Um, it's either that one or the Manchuria story. Or the story about the androids. Oh, I got too many choices. I don't know. I'll think about it later. Hmm. Okay, that's good to know. It's funny, isn't it? Those little sentences that can make you trip into a new way of understanding. Trip properly. He kneels upon the colourful patch of earth, eyes low, hair forming a little curtain over his eyes. Maybe he's praying, but Echo knows better. Look, fingers find their way to the flowers by his side. The old man watches the boy as he runs the tip of his finger across the grey petal. Runs the tip of his finger as he... Runs the tip of his finger across the I can replace with a single word. The old man watches the boy as he... Soothes? It's a really weird word, no. Letting it bend, but letting it bend under his gentle touch could actually reinforce what the verb means. Rush's touches would be really good. Into a six-part intergenerational novella. Don't mind if I do. It's not a bad suggestion, actually. I'll leave the six-part intergenerational novellas for the experts, such as yourself. When are you going to be finishing up Solera? I'm keen to see it in like a full form, and what kind of meta-narrative that you want to spin through it. Yeah, how are you going with it? Strokes, fondles. See, I thought of fondles, but fondle has a sexual connotation. Touches is a bit too... Brushes, strokes, freckens the demon got the air stuff. Damn, that'd be a weird universe. I could do it, I guess. Ah, yeah, if you've got exams, best of luck. Best of luck. I'm sure you'll be fine. You're a smart cookie. Yeah, I don't want to put fondles. I'm gonna do a gamble with soothes. It doesn't make sense. As he soothes the grey petal, like, what? Letting it bend under his gentle touch. Oh, I kinda get it. Maybe that works. I don't know. I'm not a writer. I'm not an editor. What am I even doing here? I don't belong here. I'm just a creep. As if making up his mind, he touches the beautiful accident. He takes the beautiful accident by the stem and plucks it free, holds the colour up to the sun. Now that, I know what I wanted to execute, and that it doesn't come off as good. Let's have a little it's one of those words. Yeah, I'm in this camp. Saunter. Huh. I like me a good saunter. That's interesting. I don't have any bad association with saunter. For me, it kind of reminds me of like pimp swagger. Like very few people saunter, but pimps do. They swagger. It's a saunter. Ah, all the arms? You mean the ones that were like on the ground, or the ones that came from the ceiling? Ugh, terrifying game. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. See, the old woman. I'm gonna get rid of the old woman here and put Eka. Eka watches the boys he suits the grey pill. It's Mickey. As if making up his mind can be a bit sharper, so with his mind made up, it just feels more active. He takes the beautiful accident by the stem and plucks it free. Holds the collar up to the sun. Okay, that reads better this time. With his mind made up, he takes a beautiful accident by the stem and plucks it free, holding the color up to the sun. Grey becomes yellow, becomes red, becomes ashen violet, and back again as the chemicals cycle in the sunlight. Coming to the sphere, Echo asks gentle. Is I all set to go? Yes. Who's that for? Echo thinks the boy may go for the stock answer, the right answer, the good answer. This is for the new human we're going to meet today. But instead, the child sighs and lowers his arm down to his side, says quiet, says guilty, says slow. I think Dory may like it. I'm being a bit too clever, so I'm gonna get rid of slow. I called her Dory. Who is Dory, you might ask? The porcelain girl, not unkind. Eka bends down slightly and says to the boy, what use does a creature like that have for a thing like this? How is it any different if it's for a girl above the world or below it? Why is it any different? Or just is it any different? Why is it different if it's for a girl above the world or below it? Okay, shorter. Is it different if it's for a girl above the world or below it? Echo nods. One is like you. Never is so foreign. But it would be like the wind singing and that. I'm missing something here. Let me come back to that. Hey, Cuddly Clem. Hello. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Let me go back and read that. Hang on. Ah, from the ground. Oh. I don't know how to search for this in words, but like... Ha 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 ha. Oh yeah, do I have a, Oh jeez. I have a picture for you. Yeah, this one, right? The hands that come out and grab you. Weird, weird, weird thing. Ugh, weird. Anyway, yes, that horrifying. Ah, oh, water temple. Good old water temple. So I was playing. What's what's the mermaid boner story? I'm so curious, and also just from this visceral reaction, I gotta know. This needs to be reconfigured from a child's voice. So what use does a creature like that? What use does a creature like that have for a thing like this? Doesn't it mean the same even if she's below the earth? Now she doesn't seem to open her eyes up on the roost. Ah, interesting. Wow. No, I'm gonna Google this. Hang on. VHS cover. Oh. Yep, I saw it. I saw it. I've got an eye for these things. Economics. One is like you, and the other is so foreign. One is like you, and the other is so very different. Sort of what I'm rephrased as like a wanky kind of biblical-esque kind of rhetorical thing. So can St. Paul was really good at writing these very um concise, somewhat poetic, um rhetorical questions. I don't know if he was actually good at it or if it's just a modern translation from what I remember of my Bible reading, which was quite a lot. But for all the good it did me, I'm a terrible sinner. One thing that is quite apparent in biblical letter writing is Paul will often go blah 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 blah, and then he'll sum it all up with this really nice, concise sort of metaphor. Like, can the rocks hear the song of the wind? Um, the rhythm does not match. Ooh, the rhythm does not match. Ooh. Versus they simply do not match. I'm gonna think about the rhythm. That's a good suggestion though. Sparks looks down at the flower. Salmon passes with wind as witness. Now reaches up and slides the coloured stalk through his left ear, letting the petals rest across his hair. Becca smiles to herself. Maybe it'll sink a good impression in the minds of her new friends. Okay, so note for myself. So why do humans meeting and what sort of things will we need to take for their meeting? I think I can answer that through dialogue. This is probably a better way of getting to the point of why they're meeting. It's not, why are we doing this? It's, do we really have to? Like, this offers an opportunity for Eka to reinforce why it is that she's doing what she's doing. And I think the simple answer is that they're meeting because it's a good thing for humans to do. Humans like seeing other humans. Trust me, I have this on good authority. But the real reason that this is happening is so that the people below the surface of the earth can kind of start to control them a bit more. In a physical sense, like, you know, protective sort of manner. So this would be a great moment to actually reinforce that in an emotional sense. So I'll try and do that. I don't care what their names are for now. Just throw them out there. It's a bit esoteric. I don't really know where I'm going with it, but I'm perhaps trying to convey a sense that what looks like random chances or meetings in their lives are actually sort of contrived events. I think you can probably guess by who. Hmm. Let's write a little bit more. Come back and see if it works. I would like to break this up into about 1,000 word chunks per chapter. I'll finish this off, go to the new one. So I'll leave that there. I think what I want to emphasize, and what I'm probably going to try and fix up a bit later, is that they're like, we really have to meet them. I wanted to explain not a yes or no, but why this is happening, and it's a very sort of soft, ill-defined kind of orchestrated event. So I'm gonna make Eka be a bit more plain. There you go, it's important for the future of humanity. Because it is, it kind of is. They're gonna be matching up a boy and a girl. At least introducing them to each other. Cut. And what I want to do next is start the scene in the air. I'm sorry that I'm pushing the wind thing a lot. I want to see if it can be kept through as a constant presence in the story. That's how you spell rains, isn't it? McGee's, sorry to be. Alrighty. I think what's gonna happen next is the surface of the Earth is alive, and it's its own organism that I think has appendages and a bit of an angry streak. Is probably how I describe it. So, what is supposed to be a fairly smooth flight from A to B is going to be deviated from, and I think the world may be a little angry. Maybe at the behest of the creatures below the surface, who are obvious, well, not obviously, but who are going to be controlling this monster. So I think perhaps with the lack of enthusiasm that Spark is showing, we paired up with Iol, which might deepen as the story goes along. So perhaps this is kind of like a warning shot, like a behave, or we won't tolerate you. Poor humans. Ooh, a smiley. Which one are you referring to? Oh, the pin headline. I could turn spaces and I'm leaving the color. Still going on. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I was kind of thinking of a way to describe something colorless being absorbed into color, like a sugar granule being lost amidst like flower petals or something. I was going for something a bit sort of gemstone like. It came out like this. Hmm. These are tells, right? But I kind of don't care. I think it fits the narrative style that I'm going for. Up close over there is danger. Keep your eyes focused on the dead zone long enough and you will begin to see the motion, vibration of the earth. It is alive. It is ever shifting and restless. Sure, they're decorative lines, but... Sorry, not decorative. Declarative lines. I think it just fits the flow of it though. Let me just go to the bathroom real quick. Back in about 2-3 minutes, okay? So there's a sense here that I just thought about something that I want to incorporate back into the narrative, and it's this whole idea of utopia. So I just had a candle, this thing here, and I blew it out because it's a scented candle. Didn't want more of the scent everywhere. Wow, it is smelly. So just gonna cap on that. Swear I'm not getting high over stream. um, it's a scented candle. The impression that I wanted to give was that if this is a utopia, why is there no evidence of it? And it seems a really obvious toner. It seems like a really obvious kind of question that's just never really addressed here. It's like the people below the surface of the earth have engineered everything for it to be just lovely, but I kind of never really go to any lengths to explain how it's lovely. I feel as though that this can be something that I can sprinkle in at 2 points. The first being here, during their Eka's description of... It's not really Eka's description, it's vocalized through Eka. Her home life. Really simple fix, and I want to show you how I can do it. Not like that. Spider-Man. It was a scented candle store. No way. Cool. I learned that you can tell about 8% next to you. That's cool. Oh, I feel like there's a whole story just brewing in there. Like, you've got a really cool experience with something that's quite niche, but yeah, like, you could write a cool story about that. Still smoking, even after the lid came off. Why are you still smoking? No. Okay, does this fix the problem that I was trying to address? Everything I could possibly want and need is provided on tap by fabricators, these perfectly built computers that line the firewall, medicine, stores, desserts, clothing, everything on file. But here in this place, there is more than the basic needs of humans. To see it, you simply have to look around. I like this better. I think that this was a missed opportunity before, and now I think I've entered a piece of new information that maybe helps solidify what we were talking about. Candles for dripping on flesh. I'm not sure if Herring was in that kind of candle store. I bet you are. To be fair, I don't think Outrider has shown us a photo of himself, so maybe if Herringbone had like a visual indicator, then he could be like, ah, yeah, boysenberry. Boysenberry candles? Do they make boysenberry? I don't know if they make boysenberry candles. Okay, so again, I'll just emphasize something. I can't get this right the first time, and I think what you just saw then, what you saw me do, is something that is really important in the writing process. And it's something that you'll do too, just subconsciously or very consciously, but it's the idea that you can't get it right the first time, ever. Um, you will never write a story where it's start to finish and the words come out and it's perfect. Like, we all know this intuitively, but I think like oftentimes we feel as though that once the story is set, you can't change it, and that is definitely wrong. Even last time, between streams 1 and 2, there was so much that I changed about this opener, with very, very subtle changes. Like, when I say changed, I don't mean like, ha ha ha, delete, rewrite it all. I mean picking a part of it, inserting a sentence, and having the whole meaning change. Like, writing is very flexible like that, and I think we should use that to our advantage. So just to reiterate, there is no possible way to get everything right the first time. Which is basically me, covering my ass and saying, well, if you don't like what I write, just it's a work in progress. But in reality, that's also a good thing to go by. Night Jasmine. How does that contrast to Day Jasmine? Hmm. Oh, it's me, really. Oh, actually, I do really like vanilla. Sandalwood and vanilla kind of guy. I do like vanilla. Sandalwood I can take or leave. It's not my favorite smell, but vanilla I like. So hey, you picked me. What else do you reckon I like scent wise? Alright, a basil and lime. Ooh, that sounds nice. So like you're saying that there's like a socio-economic gradient between the top sellers. Interesting. Hmm. That's a Garfunkel song? Garf. Hmm. Very familiar. I almost get the reference. Japanese honeysuckle. I don't even know what that smells like, but I want to know. The other place that I wanted to inject a bit of forced utopia would be in the garden, actually. So here. No, not here. I just said here, but I didn't actually look at where I was looking. The other one finds sparkle little waves from the dragonfly steed. One of the other things I didn't do was describe the geography of their little home very well. So down the I'm about to make it a wild garden. Solace. Okay. Um. So I didn't directly inject Utopia here. I didn't really pull it off, but I did something different. The Alderwood finds spark a little ways away from the dragonfly steed, down the slope of green to where the ocean peeps into view. Here stands their garden. Make it personal. Wild, an erratic display of colour of life is a really place where the boy usually takes solace from the world's woes. See now, he kneels upon the colourful patch of earth. A patch of crystal grass. Why not? Just throw a bit of weird psychedelia in there. Gardenia and jasmine with a hint of spice. Hmm, nice. Smell like sweet. Huh. That's really interesting. I wonder if anyone's ever taken like a good cross section, socioeconomics versus candle scents. That'd be an interesting piece of data to look at. Interesting. You're right, like, gardenia is such an old person smell. It smells nice, but it's a very old person smell. Um, in a subsequent edit, I'll go through and I'll berate myself for not making this more evident that this is a utopia of delights. But it's not really a utopia of delights. It's a zoo. Um, zoos are nice, but they're not. They don't have an element of freedom to them. It's the most obvious statement of the stream, but yeah. And spoilers, this isn't a story about freedom. This is it's more a story about being happy with being obsolete. Hey, very happy. Okay, so I'll push forward. The flight should take approximately 2 hours. It appears over the sun. I don't really mind if that's a tell. Um, you could rework this. And I should. So yeah, I'll contradict myself. I do want to change this. Um, this one shouldn't be a timepiece. It should be a computer. Okay, that's smarter. So the flight should take 2 hours was functionally fine, and I could justify it to myself partly out of laziness, but partly out of a narrational style. This is better because it introduces a bit of technology, and it also introduces slash reinforces the idea that Eka may be in cahoots with the egg dwellers. I don't even know if I like it, the egg dweller term. I'll keep it in. Eka takes the computer on a wrist and makes a note of a travel time. A colon. 2 hours just as the $8 promised. Should be a colon. Then I'll switch to the woman. One piece of a side of. I'll put a linker in. Ooh. Hmm. Reckon it's too niche? It may be too niche. I think you've got a perfect amount of on the point detail. And I wonder if introducing knowledge like that, that's a bit more esoteric, if it wouldn't drag down what you're trying to do otherwise. Maybe it doesn't fit. I don't know. What was your feeling? Why didn't you decide to put it in? Honestly, I reckon that could be its own story. The candle experience. Seas between the wing bars how the earth curves around with them. Oh, it looks pretty from afar. Bright fields, gentle trees, rolling plains. Up close, however, there is danger. Keep your eyes focused on the dead zone long enough and you will begin to see the motion, the vibration of the earth. It is alive, ever shifting and restless, and sometimes violent. That's the one. Reek, not wreck. And havoc is a C. I'll put a pin there. Stories and development. Couple of people working. Play in a story. Oh, it could be better play in a story. That could work neatly too. It was all that kind of candle. Yeah, yeah, like a gardenia candle. I guess if you just made mention of the gardenia candle, that'd be good too. Hey, Talene. Hello, welcome back. How are you doing? We're doing a bit of writing tonight. I'm continuing on from my dragonfly story. So, Eka and Spark are off to meet two other humans, and they're traveling from their home to the other humans' territory on the back of a giant mechanical dragonfly, as you do. Oh, and also the skin of the earth is covered in a biological monster that looks like it's land, but it's actually just horror. Yay. So this is a very weird story. I don't know. It's just sort of coming from a couple of images I've had in my head. Sandalwood and garlic. Well, I never. I don't know what to think of that. Okay, what's gonna happen here is that the skin of the earth is gonna start attacking them, which shouldn't happen. Um, Partly because the egg dwellers don't want to actively hurt the humans, but something's very wrong with this with the surface of the earth. Basically, stuff's going wrong in a very strange way. The humans don't want to meet other humans, but they should. The Earth should be happy and fine now that it's a giant sentient being, but it's not. Um, it's deviation from what's expected. That's kind of the thing in this story. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but we'll see. Better give it a whiff. Gonna change something. Good. And now it's deeper into the travel time. Hmm. $674. Okay, I'll try and hit 1,000 tonight. Hello, Sick Gorge. Hi, how you doing? Mm. Got to give a general size, like a circumference of what this thing looks like. That's an enormous pillar, that's fine. It's been a little while since I've actually written an action scene. There comes a point where you sort of think to yourself, okay, where do you cut the action off? Where do you stop writing more and more and more and more and more motion? When does it become too thick? When does it become too runny? Difficult to say. I'm tempted to just cut it here almost and be like, okay, monster clips a dragonfly, dragonfly starts to spiral out of control, lands on the other side of the bay, fine. The end of chapter. I find action scenes hard too, because I don't really write them all that often. I like action that's short, sharp, and sweet. Stuff here and do them later. Yeah, that's a fair way to do it. Because if you know the outcome, then it's just placeholder, and you can go and fill it in. Bit of a different story if you're writing an action novel though, or espionage, or something that requires a bit of forward momentum. Mm. Yeah, it's certainly like watching a movie where if it's constant, it gets very draining. Um, there is a good way to do constant action, but it's a little difficult to get right, I think. Some movies do constant action very well. Mm. Hmm. Hmm. I think that's probably a good way to do it, isn't it? Suspense. Quite an entrance you've made, but it comes across as a bit tawdry, so I'll stop it there. I'll just put a placeholder in there. I don't really know what can go in there. I don't want it to be snide or sort of like a movie. I'll have a think about it. But anyway, I think that's kind of where the scene ends. So we've got... They're moving towards the other side of the bay, disaster strikes, we don't really know why, but we know that Eka knows that it shouldn't have happened. They crash land, the humans are there to meet them. Nice, fine. Story dark full of errors, fills into a dread and terror. Reload on screen, white flickering, fingers tapping on keyboard clicking. Ooh, nice. I approve. Kind of like a sort of horror poem, the sort of thing that you introduce before a spooky short story. Okay, so I think you guys have been reading along with me as I've been going through there, and I'm fairly happy with this. I think I've written about 1,200 words? 1,300. Yeah, it's decent. The real advantage of a story is that I'm breaking it down into chunks of 1,000 words, so it feels like it has predictable scenes to it. And I don't really know if this is the best way to write this story or if it's coming out right, but I think that's for editing me to decide. So I'm actually going to stop tonight. I don't think I even really want to read through it again. You guys have been reading through as I'm going along. What I'll do in a subsequent edit is I will decide whether or not the pace is fine for that action, if the implications are right, if the blow-by-blow action sequences are conducive to good mental images. We'll see. But I think that's something that I can't judge right now after having just written it. You need to give it a bit of time. Yeah. Spooky editing session. I should have done a Halloween theme. Next Halloween, I'll do something fun for you guys. I'll dress up like a mummy or someone spooky. I don't know. Just a spooky person. Not a spooky minion, okay? Nothing to do with minions. Alright, I think I'm gonna call it quits there. I'll do one more stream, I think, of writing this story. I've got a bit of expansion to do for the next part of the story. That's where I really want to get into the crux of what it is that the humans are doing with each other, what the ceremony looks like, and I want to start introducing this notion of... I had it here in a notepad. I think Iol, the girl that I'm just about to introduce, I think that she knows what's going on. She knows that the humans and the egg dwellers are in concert together, and they're perhaps not with good intentions trying to reshape humanity. So I think she will speak with Spark about maybe trying to deviate from that plan. And I think Spark is going to end up meeting Dory. I just call her Dory, but she's the girl beneath the glass. And I think the point of the story may be that if something is going to replace humanity and make a utopia for them, they have to be incorporated into that utopia because that's what a better species would do. It's kind of like a moral test for the utopic society. I think Io will have a part to play in that. She'll see the futility of what it is that they're doing. It's like, look, you, Spark, are being paired up with me, we'll sometime in the future reproduce, squeeze out more humans, etc., and we'll do all of this again. Do we really want that? Do we want that to be the end point of humanity? Or could we think of something different? So I think Spark and I'll start to focalize more through them, that they will start to interface with the creature on top of this earth and the creature inside the earth, this digital thing, and maybe they can learn about how biology works with the computer aspect of the world, how the skin of the world, this writhing, restless monster, is working with the digital parts of the inner world. So how does biology and computer life interact? And I think they'll come to a good conclusion, and everyone will be happy. Spooky Minion hype. Shrek X Minion baby costume, complete with diaper. Specific? I'll take that into consideration. The diaper is the cherry on the cake, for sure. 10k follower promise. We'll get there. I'm at 139. That's a lot of followers. It's, you know, like 1% to 10k. Actually, I suggested that. Ooh, Utopia Beneath the Glass. I like that title. DNA is data. Both of those are really good titles, actually. Utopia Beneath the Glass would be a nice one. I'm gonna steal that. Thank you. Hey, what a great title I just thought of. Thank you, Van Whitman. That's actually a really good title. Alright, so join me on Sunday, and we can do more. I'm keen to write more of this. Nice. And if I get lost, I can just refer back to this last little section of video 3. Ooh. Alright guys, well have a good night. Well, have a good day, wherever you are, and we'll catch you on Sunday. Cool. Thank you for joining me. See you then.